So Secretary of State Marco Rubio just spoke to Ben Shapiro, and he believes that if you celebrate terrorism, you don't belong in America. And he now has a policy of actively deporting foreign extremists. Have a watch of what he says here, and then I'll see you on the other side.
You're making a lot of moves over at the State Department that are different than your predecessors. That includes moves to get out of the United States people who are terror supporters, not just people who say bad things, but people who are actual terror supporters, act in ways that are conducive to actual terror groups. I wanted to give you a moment to sort of explain the approach that the State Department is taking in taking a look at, for example, student visa holders and what are the standards that are being used to determine whether somebody should stay in the United States or should go, because obviously opponents of the administration are arguing it's violations of free speech. People have the ability to say what they want. That's not an argument that the administration is actually arguing with. The administration is not trying to crack down on free speech. You're trying to actually stop something else.
Yeah, well, let's start with the baseline. Okay, no one is entitled to a student visa to enter the United States. No one. It's not a constitutional right. It's not a law. We every day, consular officers on the ground in face-to-face interviews are denying people visas for all kinds of reasons, because we think you're going to overstay, because we think your family member is a member of a drug ring, whatever it may be. We deny visas every day all over the world. No one's entitled to a visa. Let's start with that, because I hear some of this reporting out there, like if somehow you're allowed to have a visa unless we can come up with a reason why you shouldn't have one. That's not true. The burden of proof is the other way. Now, let's say you go to a window somewhere in the world and say, I want to go to the United States to study at a university. And as part of that interview, it comes out, you think Hamas is actually a good group. We probably would not let you in. I would hope we wouldn't let you in. Okay. But let's say we don't ask you that question and you get into the US on a student visa, and all of a sudden it becomes obvious you think Hamas is a good group. Well, then we should revoke your visa. In essence, if we would have denied, if we learned things about you once you're here that would have caused us to deny you a visa when you were overseas, that's grounds for revocation. It is not in the national interest of the United States. It's not in our foreign policy interest. It's not in our national security interest to invite people onto our university campuses who are not just going to go there to study physics or engineering, but who are also going to go there to foment movements that support and excuse foreign terrorist organizations who are committed to the destruction of the United States and the killing and the raping and the kidnapping of innocent civilians, not just in Israel, but anywhere they can get their hands on them. That's not in our national interest. So we have a right to deny visas before you get here, and we have a right to revoke them if we believe that your presence in our country undermines our national interest, our national security, and our foreign policy. And that's what we intend to do. Now, listen, there are other student visas that are being canceled that have nothing to do with us, by the way. And that has to do with someone, for example, who is here on a student visa and has a DUI. And I don't know, that's not us, that's DHS. But I don't know if people realize if you commit a crime while you're in the US, that's an automatic grounds for revoking your visa. And no one was ever doing it. They weren't cross-referencing the system. Now they're starting to do that. So that's the majority of these. But we have identified, I can't tell you the exact number because it's static and it's constantly moving. But when someone is presented to me and it's clear that this person is a supporter of a foreign terrorist organization, we're going to remove them from the country. You're not going to be here. It's just that simple. What a stupid thing. What a ridiculous thing to invite people in your country so they can be part of these movements that are terrorizing fellow students, tearing up campuses, shutting down campuses. We have campuses in America that couldn't even operate for weeks. People couldn't go to class. Are we crazy? What other country in the world would allow this? We shouldn't allow it.
I mean, of course, it's so obvious. It's so sane. We cannot have this continued policy where, I mean, I think this must be unique in the history of civilizations where there's been a policy that says we are going to allow in people in large numbers into our country without any resistance, where they just want to destroy our way of life. We're going to let them utilize the benefits of our society and civilization to destroy us. More than that, we're going to create a intellectual system that displays much more moral sympathy and justification for the enemies of our society than for those who are the proponents of it. It's insane. It's utterly insane. We cannot go down a path of civilizational suicide in the name of upholding people's rights, in the name of protecting our society. People say, well, they've got to have free speech, they've got to have rights to all, blah, blah, blah. What you're basically saying is, we've got to let people utilize the things that make our society great, but on the altar of having our society destroyed. That obviously makes no logical sense. And there always have to be safeguards in a society. You'll so often find that things work in balance. If you want to preserve things like freedom and dignity and rights, then sometimes there's going to need to be curbs. You can't always just have an extreme version of freedom, just as you can't have an extreme version of regulation and control. Often things in life work with balance. There has to be times where you say, you know what, we can't tolerate something that's going to lead to our self-destruction. And it's shocking that this needs to be spelled out to people. It needs to be explained to people. And part of the problem, I think, for this phenomenon is that the jihadists, the Islamist extremists, they have a strong religious meaning that drives what they do, a tribal meaning, a sense of purpose. And in the West, we don't have that. And if your reaction basically to extremism is, come on, let's be nice, that's not, we don't like fanaticism, you're going to lose. Radicals walk over moderates. We in the West have to be radical in our belief in whatever it is that we want to preserve. And yes, it does help to have that belief religiously grounded. And it should be, because the Western civilization, the best of it, is grounded in the Bible, biblical values. So that has to be the approach. There has to be a return of muscular, biblically rooted values that drive the pushback against extremism. That's what will give you the strength to be able to say, no, we need to curtail some aspects of what we've been doing in the West in order to fight the extremists. That's what will also help you to build a cause, build a movement that can deal with this. We need to find something transcendent that can guide what we're doing, guide the fight back. And that's how you can really defeat this phenomenon that we're seeing. It has to be rooted in something transcendent, it has to be rooted in something strong. And conviction has to drive the way here. That's the only way that the West will be able to develop a backbone. And it's high time that it happens. If you just hold on for a moment, there's something big I wanted to flag with you. We talk a lot about the forces lined up against Israel today, but there's one power, one massively influential player that almost never gets spoken about openly. A state that smiles at the West while quietly empowering Israel's enemies. It's a story that's been hiding in plain sight until now. Have a watch of the trailer for our new JTV Plus documentary called Qatar, the Great Deceiver, and you can watch it in full now by clicking the link below in the video description. Qatar, a gleaming nation on the Arabian Peninsula. All glass towers and gold-plated excess, where the super rich jet in for the art fairs and World Cups, where Western universities open campuses and diplomats toast to partnership. But look closer at the glittering mirage, and the shimmer reveals something sinister. For 2 decades, this tiny state has been executing the greatest con in modern geopolitics, convincing the world it's a bridge between civilizations, while secretly bankrolling the arsonists on both sides. The name Qatar should make Western leaders shudder. Instead, they shake hands with its emirs, park fighter jets on its soil, and call it an ally. On October 7, 2023, the mask slipped, as 1,200 souls were slaughtered in Israel in a symphony of savagery orchestrated by Hamas. The world saw where the terrorist leaders live, not in tunnels beneath Gaza, but in luxury villas in Doha, under Qatar's protection. And as the bodies were being counted, Qatar's leaders didn't condemn the massacre, they called for restraint. This is the untold story of the Gulf's master deceiver, how a nation smaller than Connecticut is playing the West for fools. As you are watching this, billions are flowing from Doha into extremist networks, while Western elites cash Qatari checks and sing its praises. In this JTV Plus documentary, we follow the money, we expose the double game, and we ask the question that should haunt every Western capital. How are we letting them get away with it? To watch this JTV Plus documentary and access much more premium content, click on the link in the video description.